Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me here tonight. My name is John. I'm here to talk to you a little bit today about Red Hat Pride. It is Red Hat's second ever employee resource group in the company's history, and of course it is our employee resource group for our LGBTQ plus community. But before I jump into that, I wanted to give a little bit of context. As I was pulling my thoughts together for this evening, came across some recent data that I thought was interesting to share. So this is a report from the HRC, which says that even today, in 2018, 50% of non-LGBT employees report that they are not aware of any out coworkers in their workplace. And almost 50% of LGBTQ employees report that they are not out at work. So that is still the reality in which we live. So put yourself in the shoes of an LGBT associate who is not out at work. What does that do to your psyche? What is your mindset when you come to work every day and try to do a good job? 31% report that they feel depressed or unhappy in the workplace. 28% say that they have to lie in the workplace about their personal life. Think about water cooler chatter, casual personal conversations that happen in the hallway. And 25% say that they are distracted at work. So this is a real problem for people who, again, are in the workplace to try to do a good job. Well, certainly bad behavior, whether it's negative comments from coworkers or other behavior, certainly that's not okay, right? I mean, there are safeguards for things like that. 45% of LGBTQ associates say they understand that any accountability for such behavior is purely dependent upon their manager or supervisor's own personal beliefs about LGBTQ associates. And you know, we talk a lot, especially in the tech industry, like at Red Hat where I work, we talk about the war for talent, right? We just are always looking to bring the best people possible in. 1 in 5 LGBTQ workers say that they are actively looking for another job today because of the environment that has been created in the workplace. And 1 in 10 report that they've actually left a job because of that environment. So this has some real business impact. So I set that up as the context to talk about Red Hat Pride. And when I helped to get the ball rolling for this organization at Red Hat, it was really founded on 4 principles. I think the data kind of makes the case for employee resource groups overall, but at Red Hat, we really want to have a focus. And so those 4 pillars that we really focused on were first and foremost visibility. It is important to have visibility in the workplace. It's important for current employees who will see that there are other people at work like them. It's important for people who are looking for a safe space and people that they can talk to and relate with in the workplace. It's also important for recruiting. You know, people want to go work somewhere where they know they will feel comfortable. So visibility was first and foremost one of our objectives. Fellowship was important for us as well, and that might also, you know, we started calling it social activities, things like happy hours and outings. It's easy to say that that's kind of soft and squishy, but it's really, really important to start building that sense of fellowship. Education was another important goal for us, and that is education both inside and outside of our community. We understood that there was opportunities to provide training and education for members of the community to sort of help with professional development, but also how can we help educate people outside of the LGBT community? How can we bring our allies along with us? And the 4th one was advocacy, and this is one I felt very strongly about, was that we had to make sure that the LGBT community at Red Hat had a voice in things like company policies, company procedures. How are we getting involved with conversations about benefits? Some really tactical but very important things. I know you can't see this, but I just want to go through a couple of visuals. When I talk about visibility, so visibility internally is one way to think about it. This is a page from our internal collaboration platform we use at Red Hat. It's where teams house their product documentation, where HR houses all of its information. We have a very prominent page in the community. It's very active. A lot of people have joined. And so this is just an example of internal visibility. Externally, we're also doing a really good job. So Red Hat does not shy away from being externally visible with its support of the Red Hat Pride organization. Here's some images from social media. Facebook page on the left. We have a very active We Are Red Hat page, which is all about the employee experience. They are very supportive of sharing what we do to do things like celebrating Pride Month and some of the events that we run. And on the right is a photo from Instagram. So it's just things that we are putting out there to demonstrate support. I talked about fellowship. So some of the things that we've gotten up off the ground are involvement and participation in local Raleigh city activities, things like sports leagues, where we have groups that go out and participate as members of sports leagues. Top right, with some of our volunteer activity at Out Raleigh, we get increasing numbers of people who want to come out and support such events. And I will say, it's still majority allies who come out and support these things. We have a large ally population that really gets involved. I talked about training. So some of the things we do for our own members of the community, for Red Hat Pride members, we do things like Toastmasters, if you're familiar with that. So we have sort of a special work stream of Toastmasters specifically for LGBT associates who want to work on that element. But really where a lot of our successes come in is training for people outside of our community. We've hosted lunch and learns. We had a Trans 101 lunch and learn right around the time of HB2. We had PFLAG come in and speak to our community about the efforts that they're doing. We've also done panel discussions for Pride Month. And then finally, advocacy. So outside of the company, advocacy looks like this. We did a fundraiser after the Pulse tragedy in Orlando, where we tried to raise funds for the Orlando community, which Red Hat supported. And then also, some of you may have seen a mural in downtown Raleigh that Red Hat has supported. It is a Love Conquers All mural with a very pro-LGBT point of view. Here's my brief history of our employee resource group. I won't go into detail, except to mention that it started out with a bunch of people having lunch once a month for a couple of years who really wanted to see this community grow. And in just the span of a couple of years, we've formed some global chapters. We've got a very strong chapter, first of all, in our Westford, Massachusetts office was our second chapter that came online after Raleigh. And Brisbane, Australia actually has formed a very active chapter. So it is definitely global in nature. So what's next? Some of you may have heard the term self-identification. This is sort of in the realm of visibility. We've recently added an enhancement to our internal employee directory where we allow people to self-select their pronouns, their preferred pronouns. So that is something that our community sort of advocated, and the company supported it and implemented it recently. This is some internal communications that were wrapped around that. We have digital display screens in all of our break rooms around the world. And this is an example of an ad that was in rotation on those digital display screens. Again, you can't see this, but I wanted to point out, this is sort of an official communication about that change, and there's a blurb in the bottom there that specifically says this was done in support of the LGBT community at Red Hat. We are looking to participate in the Human Rights Campaign's Corporate Equality Index, for those unfamiliar, that is an objective third-party assessment of the health of your organization in terms of its support of the community. So we're looking forward to that. And then finally, continued partnership with our HR and benefits teams when it comes to things like transgender inclusive benefits, domestic partner benefits, and things like reproductive health and adoption, which are all really important things to members of the community. So we've formed very strong partnerships there and looking forward to continue those. And that's it. Thank you guys so much.